So, Ruby Franke, mommy, famous mommy influencer, is really proof that you really shouldn't judge a book by its. You really shouldn't compare your life to other people that are on social media, because it can be all an utter and complete facade. I have been hearing about this famous mommy influencer going to jail over child abuse and neglect for a while now, but honestly not until recently when I heard the rest of the evidence and some video evidence that's come out about the arrest. I didn't realize how severe it was. Like, I kind of thought like she was like putting hot sauce on her kid's tongue and, you know, making them stand in a corner for too long, or maybe she was heavy-handed when she gave them spankings, which I'm saying all of those things are not great and not good and can be considered abuse. However, I thought that was like the extent of it, but no, it's a lot more sinister than that. That makes me believe, and others believe, that she's a straight up sociopath. Like, she's trying to come out now and say that she was brainwashed by this religious woman cult ideology, and maybe that's a part of it, because some of the stuff she said and the reason why they're punishing, like, I come from a religious household and nothing like that ever happened, but I've heard of things like happening like that in like religious households, and I watch a lot of religious cults or just cult documentaries, and they will have very harsh punishments for their children because, you know, something about God in the Bible, right? To justify their behavior towards their children and abusive behavior. There was a video that came out of one of Ruby's sons escaping, and he ended up getting two neighbors. The first neighbor didn't answer the door. The second neighbor, thank God, answered the door. You can see in the video how emaciated and how skinny this kid is. I'm not sure how old they are, but probably smaller than he should be, but he's emaciated. You can see his knee joints. He's really skinny. The man who's calling 911 can't even hold his own tears back when he realized that this little boy has tape around his ankles and his wrists, so he was bound at some point. I don't know how exactly he got out, but he was bound at some point.
I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
The police reports have even indicated that the tape that was on these kids' bodies smelled like flesh, because that's how long the tape was. Whew, I am about to cry. That's how long the tape were on these kids' ligaments, joints, limbs. I'm trying not to cry. Anyway, there was another video that came out of what they thought was a little boy, but it was a little girl, and her mother shaved her head, and that could have also been a punishment, because my mom also shaved my head, just cut my hair in chunks, ripped out my hair. She did this a couple of times as a form of abuse. If you don't know, I come from a very severely abusive household, and so I think that could have also been an abuse, especially like I think when women, like mothers, have this like thing with their daughters where they become jealous and they'll like try to take their beauty away, and cutting your hair is one of those ways. So that could have been a punishment. But anyway, they find the daughter in a closet in this massive home in a desert. I don't know where they were, but they took hours to coax this girl out of the closet. It took them hours just to get her to speak. That is how terrified she was of her mother and of the punishment that would happen if she got caught talking or coming out of the closet, which she was probably most likely told to stay in. That's how much control her mother had over her, where it took hours for these police officers to get her out of the closet. They end up asking, I think the one breaking point, the icebreaker, was asking her if she wanted pizza, and because these kids were starving, she nodded yes, and she ate one whole pizza and another half of large pizza all to herself, because that's how starved they really were. There's a lot more allegations of different types of form of abuse to these kids over years and years and years under this guise of religious rhetoric and justification and stuff like that. Yeah, my mom also locked me in a closet once for like a week and gave me a bucket to poop and pee in, and oddly enough she gave me like a self-help book to like learn how to be a better daughter. Like, anyway, there's been a few different stories that's come out recently, and every single day there's a new story. Every day multiple times a day I see new stories about parents severely abusing and neglecting their children. The three that I'm about to mention including the one I just did, are all happen to be women, but men do it too. There was a mother who left her toddler home by themselves for like a week or a few days. That baby, that daughter, that toddler starved to death. You know how slow and painful starving is? I don't know how I would deal with that as an adult, let alone a child who is probably so terrified and confused why she's left here and why her mother isn't there to feed her or save her or rescue her. They had found feces in, I'm sorry if this is too much TMI, but I believe the story needs to be told, so I'm going to tell the whole thing. They found feces in this toddler's mouth because they were obviously trying to eat it because they were so hungry. So they were caked all over in feces and just piss and all that stuff.
Oh my God.
Disturbing body camera video shows Ohio police officers react as they find an emaciated 3-year-old weighing only 16 pounds, clinging to life in a roach-infested apartment.
Oh, she's still breathing. She's still breathing. Let's go. Let's go.
Body camera video captures the emotional moment when a responding officer first spots the little girl. She's been blurred out in this video, but officers say she was huddled in the corner of the room covered in bug bites. They say she weighed only 16 pounds and was unresponsive. She was found near a bed that had been severely soiled. The officers believe the girl isn't alive. You can hear the moment of relief when they realize she's still breathing.
Oh, she's still breathing. She's still breathing.
Video then shows first responders carry the girl out of the home. She was later taken to the hospital.
Call code enforcement. Have them respond, please.
Unfortunately, this is one of the most tragic and unfortunate cases I've had in my career thus far. So at autopsy, I examined the body of a very emaciated female toddler. At this point, she weighed 13 pounds. Upon review of medical records, this indicated approximately a 7-pound weight loss. The eyes were sunken, and she had temporal wasting in her face. In addition to that, the skin showed markedly decreased turgor, meaning when I pinch the skin, it remains in that tented position, indicating severe dehydration. In addition, there was abundant fecal material present, caked on the fingers, the fingernails, the hands, the feet, as well as the soles of the feet. The same material was found on her lips, which were very dry and flaking, as well as in her oral cavity, caked to her teeth.
Dr. Mooney said Jalen's body fed upon itself, trying to get nutrients. Her kidneys failed, and based on the decomposition and state of her body, she had likely died 2 or 3 days before her mom returned and discovered her body. Jalen's cause of death was ultimately ruled as starvation and extreme dehydration due to pediatric neglect.
There was another, I think there's an FBI investigation, I think, or some sort of investigation on this other mommy influencer on TikTok that's literally been pimping her toddler out starting at 2 years old. Now it's all digital pimping, but it's still pimping nevertheless. Basically, she caters to mostly men, and these are up to 13 million men, I believe, or millions and millions of men who are pedos. And they will leave disgusting comments in the comment section, so the mom knows she's seen these comments, and they will leave suggestions like you should have her eat a hot dog next time, or like a ice cream cone, or eat a popsicle, like things that are flaccid in shape, stuff like that. The thumbnails of this taller, now 3-year-old, would be images of looking like something spilling on the kid's face or doing something suggestive. Videos of the taller miming putting a tampon in, like stuff like that, that's obviously catering to her audience because they're suggesting in the comment section. I do believe that TikTok may have turned off the comment section now, but they haven't got rid of this mommy influencer because they don't give a fuck. They want to pretend they're doing something about it by doing the bare minimum. This is the most disgusting part. The video, like, this is not the most disgusting part, but one of the more disgusting parts. The videos get hundreds and thousands of shares and saves. Who are saving all these videos of this little girl eating hot dogs? Right? It's hard for me to talk about these stories because I am a survivor of child abuse, severe child abuse. If you ever want to know the scope of my child abuse, by the way, the movie Precious It's probably that. More violence and aggression, less sex stuff with the mom. God, this video is weird. But I think it needs to be talked about because I think people really underestimate how much this happens. This happens a lot. It's not the norm, but it's not rare. It is way more normal than you think. Anyway, every time I hear stories like this, it just reminds me once again that there are so many people in this world that shouldn't have children. And that people should stop telling people to have children. And I know right now, like, the traditional religious right, conservative right, and some of the red pill are like obsessed with telling people to have babies and settle down because they think somehow like that's the magic pill for everything. They haven't learned from the toxic marriages who try to have babies to fix it and that doesn't work out and they still get divorced anyway. They haven't learned from that, but they actually think that if people just start piping out babies, that it's gonna fix society and every man and woman and child will become trad and traditional and conservative. No, it'd just be toxic people popping out babies, raising more toxic human beings to create more of a toxic society. The West is sick. There's a sickness in the West and it needs to be fixed. That needs to be dealt with before we just have a second baby boom. Like, it's like the house is on fire and everyone's like, yeah, we'll deal with the fire later. Let's just have more children within this fire and watch them burn. The conversation needs to stop being you're selfish if you don't have kids. It should start being you're selfish if you have children when you know you should not be having kids. You are selfish if you know you're not the type of human being that should be a parent of any child. You're selfish if you are incapable of taking care of a child and loving a child the way a child needs to be loved. You are selfish if you are not willing to make the extreme amount of sacrifices you need to make when you have children. You are selfish when you're not willing to put your entire existence on a back burner to make sure that child is okay. That is when you're selfish. Not when you know you shouldn't have kids and you don't have kids. That is not selfish. That is knowing thyself and not wanting to bring another human being into your toxic ass lifestyle, or to your selfishness, or into your immaturity, or your just inability to take care of another human being because you have financial problems or mental problems or emotional problems. I don't care if people used to have kids back in the day and the Great Depression and Stone Ages. I don't give a fuck. If we have the wisdom and the intelligence now to know that a kid shouldn't be raised in those situations, they shouldn't be if it's possible. I'm not anti-child. I think if you want to have a kid, you should have a kid. Plan for it and make sure you have a great nest for that child to come into. And I understand other countries and developing countries, but that's different because that is their culture and it's not. Our culture is progressive. Our culture is modern. We have the intelligence now. We've evolved. We have all the information we need to know if it's healthy to bring a child into a situation or not. So you can't really compare it. Anyway, that's what it always reminds me of when I see stuff like this. These three women I just mentioned, along with the hundreds and thousands of children that have reported abuse and neglected every single year in the United States of America alone. And no, I'm not talking about someone who just mispronounced. Actual abuse and neglect. Those people shouldn't have children whatsoever. I'm glad I exist. I'm glad I survived because I was this close to being aborted with my other 7 siblings who got aborted. But I wouldn't wish my childhood on my worst fucking enemy. Ever. And if I had an inkling, just an inkling that I would bring a kid into the world that would just experience a fraction of what I went through and what these 3 kids or these handful of kids from these 3 mothers went through, I wouldn't have kids. Period. That is what's selfish. That is what real selfishness is. These women are disgusting. The one woman who left her kid to starve, people are saying she had mental problems. She's not a kid. Sorry. Like, anyway, that's all I want to say about this whole thing. It's really tragic. It's really disturbing. I'm disgusted and it's ruined my fucking mood and I'm gonna leave now. You guys have a beautiful, freaking amazing day.